And also I have a cheat sheet here with me as always, because this is a very, very convoluted topic. There you go. Okay, so just one thing before we start. Maybe some of you seen it on Discord, maybe others haven't. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we were having trouble with our landscape. This was the highest that we could go, and I figured out what was the issue. When I created the landscape, one of them with the height map, here under manage, we can choose the landscape. So landscape, I don't know which one is each, but landscape 3 most likely, I guess, is the latest one that I added, this one. And the problem is that there's some jostling with the scale, yes. Now I just have to find where is the scale here for us to change. Damn it. Well,
under move there,
under manage, yeah.
Yeah,
But
down under layers.
down.
Where?
You were there.
New, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's just new.
Yeah, that's just new, yeah.
I
Well,
couldn't read the
I don't think we can change it in here, but just be aware next time if you want to create one that goes above a specific threshold that we can just model freely. Make sure that your scale is back to 1, 1, 1, for example. Now when we create, now we're going to be able to just bring it up, okay? The problem is because since we were scaling 100 times more to the Z, we're just going to cap how much we can bring it up, okay? So if we keep these 3 numbers the same, doesn't have to be 1, could be 100, 100, 100. When you create, let's just wait a little bit. Okay, so now if I start sculpting, we should be able to see it.
just delete the other landscape layers.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna hide them. That's one. Landscapes used to be a single object before. Now they are not anymore. In Unreal 5, they have all the... Okay, so now you can see we can go way higher than we were able to do before, okay? That was a problem setting the scale. Okay, let me Control Z a few things in here, because I just want to go back to our regular old landscape here. Okay, that's good. Alright, so on selection mode here, let's start creating our material. So under content, I'll create a new material called m underscore auto material. Okay, you can call it whatever you like. I'm calling it auto material. So we already know the parameters here for our materials. We've covered it last week in great detail. But I want to cover a little bit or other things before we start here. Okay, just want to show you some of the most used functions or common expressions in material editing. Okay, so here just to show you the result between in add and multiply. You probably remember these nodes from Photoshop. If you multiply a layer with another layer, what happens? Who remembers? Yes, please. Darkens it? Yes. So all the dark values, they're going to be multiplied. They're going to be added. And all the light values, they're just going to be ignored. Okay, so white is basically alpha, so it's empty. And whatever black you add there, then you have the opacity changing, or in this case, the color changing. So here we have a multiply example, or this one. I think that's the best example. So we are multiplying the Unreal 4 logo here that has just black and white with a red color. that's the result of the multiply right here. We have the blacks or the darks, they're still pretty dark, they haven't changed, and everything that was white was ignored, and we placed something else on the top of it. Okay, so we're gonna use a lot of multiply in our, it shows a lot. But if you want to do the opposite, if you want to make things brighter instead of darker, we're going to use the add function. So add is exactly the same thing as multiply, but inverted. So everything that's black is going to be ignored, and everything that has lighter values is going to be added one to the other. Okay, so we're going to get, for example, here we have this gray with gray combined, or adding them, we're going to get white, okay, because that's a 0.5, so it's a half-tone gray. Okay, does it make sense? Alright, that's good. Some other common expressions here that I think is worthwhile. These ones are pretty simple in general. So we have here just a value, okay, or it could even be a parameter. So this is one number, could be any number. Here we have two numbers, okay, on the second box. Here we have a vector of three numbers. We can think about color in three vectors, right? RGB. And if we have four vectors or four spaces there, we're gonna have RGB and alpha. Okay, so think about channels when you see those things for color or for materials. Multiply, add, as we mentioned before, subtract and divide. They work similarly to add and multiply, but they have a different effect. I don't know exactly what subtract means. I think you subtract one color from the other when they're together. But divide, I know it's just like in Photoshop when you make a selection and you want to get the things that are they're already inside another selection. I think it's not integer. Jeez. Well, anyhow, we can test it out later and see the results. 1 minus x, this one is when you wanted to invert the number. Instead of 10, you want minus 10. Or you can also multiply by minus 1. It's the same thing. That's just like a note to make it simpler. LERP stands for linear interpolation. We are interpolating. We're going to see today a linear interpolation. So we have value a and b. Let's say value a is 50. And value b, or value a is 0 and value b is 50. So that's like a slider. We want to keep all the numbers within these two numbers. And the alpha is how we're going to change from value 1 to value 2. So we are interpolating. We're going from value a to value b using an alpha, just like in the timeline that we built for animations in Mira 280, if you remember. Clamp is to keep the minimum and maximum of a number. So let's say you don't want your number to go above 2. So your clamp max here is going to be 2. And minimum is going to be your minimum. Power of X, I never used this one. So I don't know exactly what it means, to be fair. Texture samples and texture objects, they are similar to colors. But here we're going to get a texture, not only a simple color. And the difference between a sample and an object, some functions they're going to ask for one or the other, but for us as users, they look exactly the same. Vertex color is similar as well, okay? It's another color with RGB and alpha all together here. Red, green, blue, and alpha, okay? The nodes. Texture coordinate, that's a coordinate in space. We're going to use it to make scale on our materials. Panner, we've learned it last week. Rotator, to rotate things. Masks, and well, that's it. The other ones, they are barely used. But those are the very common expressions. We're going to see them a lot. And here we have others. So these ones are the ones that we're going to use a lot. So we're going to see here again, texture coordinates, once again, to lock the scale of our textures, or to get a coordinate within the world, better said. Multiply, clamp, rotator, here just like a number. A vector 3 here for colors, texture sample, and the power of X, but this one I rarely use in my work. Yeah, that's it. So that's If you don't know exactly what you use, you probably know that we have here a huge palette of things, right? We have almost infinite functions to use here. If you don't know exactly what you do, you are safe if you remember this box here, okay? Because those are the ones that are most common. All right, so let's start programming our material. Back here to the material. So I'll start just making a basic material. So let's start with a texture coordinate, or texture sample, rather. Okay, texture sample. This one's going to be my grass. So let's just grab here some grass. That looks okay. That one looks like garbage. Okay, that's good. Okay, so here, I want to do something different right away. So instead of connecting my RGB here to the base color, since we're combining multiple materials and multiple textures, we're going to do something different. So drag out from here the RGB.
Wait, how did you get the texture sample real quick?
Right click, texture sample. Okay. So from here now we're going to drag and we're going to make material attributes. When you hit enter, now we have a mirror of the material attributes. Okay, what we're doing here, we are getting a preview of, we are separating the grass material here. We're also gonna have the rock material beneath it and the snow material. So we are just separating them into their own outputs here. Okay, so the beauty of this is that we can just connect this one right away to base color. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. Well, we have to do something else after this one. We're going to do a make material, break material. Break material attributes. And this one we're going to connect here base color. We're just going to connect the ones that we're going to use. Roughness and what is the other one we're going to use? Well, we need an opacity mask, but not here. Color, metallic, and roughness. Yeah, that's it. That's good. We only need those two for now. Okay, so that's our grass so far. For the metallic, well, we're not feeding metallic, so that's fine. For roughness, we don't have a roughness map or texture. So we can either plug it in, but it gets really like not good here. So what I suggest for roughness, just right click and convert to or promote to parameter. Now we have here a parameter that we're gonna call grass rough. Okay, and it's going to be 1, not 0, but 1. So it's not rough at all, or super rough. Maybe 0.7 is going to be better. Yeah, barely any difference. Okay, that's for roughness. And well, that's it. For metallic, we already have the number as 0. Okay, what else we need in here? We're gonna need let's do the rock now. So let's say that we are happy with this material. You can have more things, okay? I'm just using the very basic, just color and roughness. So I'll do a Control-C, Control-V. There, all right? And in here, instead of using the grass, I'll use the rock. We probably have some rock textures in here. Or stone, maybe. Rock slate, yeah, that works. Okay, oh, we also need a normal. Yes, I was
Wait, how
forgetting.
did you get the grass color but the rock texture? I kind of find that funny.
Oh, the rock's not connected anywhere. That's why we have it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I see now. I'm like,
Okay.
what the heck?
So let me show you something really cool. If you right click on any node, we can click here, start previewing node. Basically, we're gonna see what the material looks like from this node here that we selected. So now I can see the rock, how it looks like. Okay? So I'm gonna do the same thing here for normal. I believe that we probably have a normal here. Yes. Rock slate N, that's the normal. So I'm gonna plug this one into the normal. And I forgot about the normal on my grass. So let's find here the grass normal. Yes, that's gonna look a little bit better, probably.
It's funny. I like how the normal brick looks because I accidentally chose the normal brick as my texture. I'm like, you know what? It's a really nice texture,
Yep.
base wise, but it's like
looks like a brick, right? In the end. And here's something for normals that we've learned. Let's do a multiply node. So we can connect this multiply node to normal, and here this number, if we want to increase the normal map, 1 for example maybe is too light for me, so I'm gonna try 5, and my normal should be more pronounced now. Okay, so it's nice to have this normal control here if you want to. It's not required, but it's nice. You can do the same thing for the grass if you want to. Works the same. Alright, so we have our two first materials in here. Now, let me see if I'm missing anything here from my cheat sheet. Yeah, that's it. That's the bare minimum that we require. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. So let's learn about this layer blend, maybe material layer blend. Let me see here. Material.
I think it's landscape layer blend.
Landscape layer blend. Yes, I think you're correct. Landscape layer blend. No, it's not landscape layer blend. No. Layer blend standard. That's the one. Layer blend standard. That's how you find it. It looks like this. Okay? Layer blend standard. What this node is asking for. So let's read it first. We have here on the top a base material and a top material. So pretty self-explanatory, right? We have a material that's going to go on the top and another one that's going to be beneath it. And we also have an alpha. So once again, alpha in Unreal Engine in general, or for materials, in general means the threshold that we're going to use to transpose from material on the top to the material on the base. Okay, and as a result here, we're gonna get a blended material. Okay, so what I want to do here, I will connect this one to the attributes. Okay, the blended material. I'll actually move these ones over so we have more space. Okay, so now I have this like this. For my material, my base material, I want to have it as the rock. And for my top material, I want to have as the grass. Alright? Stop reviewing so we can see there. So nothing really changed yet because we don't have an alpha value. And since I'm crossing over here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select my rock, move it up. So now we have them aligned. Okay? All good so far? Mm-hmm. Alright, so let's keep going. Before we set up our alpha, I know that we're not going to have a good result here, so I'll ask you to change a few things here. So just leave a little bit more space between your texture samples and the things that we're doing. And we're going to slap here a new node, okay? Otherwise it's not going to work properly. So this node is called World Aligned Texture. Okay, world aligned texture right there. It looks like this. So here we have a lot of plugs that we can plug stuff, but we only need the first one. Okay, so we're gonna plug here the texture sample to the texture object, and you see it doesn't let us do it because it's not compatible to a texture 2D that we are using here, a texture sample. It's only compatible to a texture object. So let's do it. It's very easy to change. So right click on your texture sample and convert to texture object. This is nice in Unreal Engine if you have to convert things or if you're not really sure why they're not connecting. We can just right click and try a different type of object and eventually it's gonna work. So this one, convert to texture object. Okay, same deal for us as the user, doesn't change anything, but now it allows us to connect. And here to connect in there, make sure you don't connect the first one, but connect the third one, X, Y, and Z texture, okay? And this one goes on the base color now. So nothing really changed. When we look at our material here, it's exactly the same. But it's gonna make a difference in the end. Alright, same thing here for the normal map, but one thing is different. Instead of using a world aligned texture, we're gonna use world aligned normal. Just because it's a normal, not a regular texture. It changes a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. It does not allow me to connect, so right click,
Texture object.
convert to texture object, plug it in, and here we're gonna use the second one. That's the same as the other one, right? X, Y, and Z texture. X, Y, and Z texture. We're gonna plug this one into our A, and there you go. Once again, we have it in there. Okay, not a big change still. Okay, all good so far? Let's do the same for the grass now. So I'm just gonna copy and paste these two in here and connect. Oh yeah, we have to also convert those to texture objects. Now plug in, second one and the third one. Alright, I'm all set up now. So now we have the materials, so we can comment here. So those are the landscape materials. So I'll leave it there, and now they're part of the group, right? Because we commented, that's good. Now let's figure out how to do the alpha. And you're gonna see the alpha is very, very complicated. You may ask me, hey Marcel, how have you figured this thing out? I haven't, okay? What happened here? Some material engineer, a programmer who only works with materials, they figured it out. And I'm just copying over from tutorials, but I know what he's doing, so that's nice. Okay, let's grab it here. So what's the logic here for our alpha? You remember what I said in the beginning of the class? We're gonna get the angle of the slopes in our environment, and depending on this angulation, how steep is a specific surface, we're gonna apply different materials to it. So first, we have to figure out the z-axis, okay? So we can figure out what is the angle in comparison to the z-axis. So the first thing we are going to do, we're going to press number 3 on the keyboard and click anywhere, okay? That's one way to grab a vector 3 parameter, or you can right click and try vector 3, so constant 3 vector, there you go, okay? It's the same thing. Easier if you just press 3 and then click anywhere. So you remember X, Y, and Z can also be called red, green, and blue. So we are talking here that we only want to find out Z here. So I want it blue. So I'm going to make my Z 100% or 1 here. Okay? You can see the preview is going to turn pure blue. It's a good sign. Means that it's correct. So from here, let's drag out and do a transform vector. Yeah, it's just the transform, okay? It's called transform, and it turns out it's the transform vector. So here, transform, just transform, all right? So let's see what's going on here. If I preview, start previewing node here, we basically just have a blue node. If I preview from this one, now the blue node turned into parameters, okay, vectors, 3 vectors. I don't know exactly how this thing works, but trust me, well, I can tell you. So we have here like the equator line right in the middle, dividing top and bottom. And we also have here this line going around that is dividing into two halves. And once again here we have another line dividing the other two halves. That's why we have different colors. Each color represents a quadrant in here. Well, it's not a quadrant because we have more than 4, but anyhow, I think you got the idea. Alright, so let's keep moving. Now we need to normalize this vector, so just pull from there and do a normalize. Okay, normalize math right there. Let's see how it looks like now. So what we're doing here, we're just making it, well, easier to see, pretty much. Okay, now there's this weird trick here. So we are trying to separate the blue from the rest. So let's grab from here once again. And here we're gonna do a lerp. Okay, a linear interpolate. It looks like this, okay? A is going to be blue. Here for B is going to be 1, that's correct. And alpha 0.5, yeah, that's good. Let me see if we preview from here what we see. Well, nothing really. Okay, let's keep going. And here we're going to do a dot. Dot product. It's basically a multiply, but it's different because it's in like mathematics functions instead of texture. So let's plug this one into B. And now if we check here, we should see something interesting. Let me see here. Yes. So now it's working the way that it's intended to work. So what's going on here? The alpha, that's technically the angle that we are using. So if I change here from 0.5 to 1, you see now we have a more steep angle. Let's try instead of 1, 0, it's going to be horizontal, okay? So here on the alpha, we are controlling the threshold where we start. So let's try 0.3. It's different, okay? So let's keep 0.5 for now. Maybe we want to change it later. Okay, so we're going somewhere. Now from here, let's drag from the dot and let's do lerp. So we're gonna do another linear interpolation. But this one, instead of being the A value, is going to be my alpha. So maybe you already have an idea what is this thing that we just did, or what we're visualizing here. That's the alpha, or that's how we're gonna separate the things that are on the top. It's the white part, and the things that are on the bottom, or the material that's on the bottom, that's the black part. Okay. So from here now, linear interpolate, we're gonna need some parameters. So right click here on A and promote to parameter. This is going to be my vertical separation. Separation A. And right click, promote to parameter. This is my vertical separation B. So what are these two numbers? Those are the numbers that we actually going to use in the engine later. Once we have figured out our material, we're going to use it to change where our material is starting. Okay, so some values that I have here that worked for one project, but the other project I had to change. It's -5 and 4. Okay, for the minimum value and the maximum value. That's how you can think about as well for the separation. Okay, now I know it's not making a lot of sense, but it's going to make more sense later as soon as we connect. Okay, so now for our final step, we're going to need a cheap contrast just to make this contrast a little bit better. So cheap contrast, the first option here is good. There we go, looks like this. And for the contrast, we're also going to make it into a parameter. So right click and promote to parameter. This we're going to call the grass contrast or material contrast, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let me just clear out something that's very important. You can see here we have parameter. Oh, and also for this parameter, give it the value of -5. Okay, so here, what is a parameter? I think that's important to discuss. We can have just a number, okay, like I have here. So this value here is not a parameter, it's just a value. So it means that it is locked out inside my code base. Okay, so whatever number I put in here, it's going to be the number. I don't have access to change it. However, if it is a parameter, like the ones we have been creating, those parameters, they are editable later in the engine. Just like exposing a variable, that's similar. Okay? Alright, so here we are. I don't need this node here. And the result, we're gonna plug. So let me stop previewing here. So you're gonna see how it's gonna change from just rock to both. So now I'm gonna connect here into the alpha. And now you can see we have rock and we also have grass. Okay?
That's cool.
And if I change here, for example, the alpha as we did before, instead of 0.50, now you can see it's horizontally separating. Okay?
What about if it's like 0.7?
0.7. Oops. It's almost vertical. I think one should be vertical. Almost. Maybe two. I don't know. We can keep trying here different values. But for now, let's keep 0.5. That's pretty good already. Alright, so that's kind of it. Of course, we're going to improve it. But now it's time to test it out. So I'm going to select the landscape. This one actually I'm just going to turn off so we can see the other one below only. Alright, this landscape here. Okay, now on the landscape, you can scroll down to where we see material, and here we're gonna plug in our new material, m underscore, I think it's auto landscape, that's how we call it. Yeah, auto material. So if I select, let's see, should work. I think it's still processing it. Yeah, it's definitely processing it. Okay, good.
Wow, that. You'd think you'd want it the other way around, where
Yes.
the grass would be overtaking the stone, but instead it looks like you're in a very, very desolate mountain.
Yep. So what can we do here to make it work?
The alpha?
Yep, let's change the alpha here.
You passed by it.
No.
Oh.
Maybe, I think it's here. Instead of -5, let's try 5. I think it's here that we can address it. Yes, there you go. So for the grass contrast, we can try 5 instead of -5, and now it looks more like what we were expecting to see.
It looks like a golf course almost.
Yep, totally. Okay, but it doesn't look great yet. So, well, the first thing is the texture scale, so let's address this right now. Or before doing that, I want to talk to you about another concept that's very, very important. Not only materials, but in general. You probably remember when we've learned about blueprinting that I've mentioned something called blueprint master, or we have the master blueprint and we have the child blueprints that inherit some functions that we made for the parent. Do you remember that? Yes, maybe? Okay. For materials, it's very similar. So we're going to create a material instance. Let me show you how to do it. So open your content browser, wherever you have your auto material. Okay. And now right click on the auto material and choose the second option here, create material instance. For naming, you can leave it as m auto material instance, so we know it's an instance. Okay, so if I open the auto material, it looks like this. As we know, we have been programming it. But look what happens if I open the instance of the material. It's a simpler version of my parent material, okay? Or my master material. That's the proper naming. It's a master material and instance materials. So what's going on? This instance material is inheriting all the code that we made for the parent material, the master material. However, here you see global scalar parameters. If we open it up. Now look what we find here, the parameters that we set up in the other material. Okay, so we have here, for example, the grass roughness, the grass contrast, that we can edit, okay? Vertical separation, and so on. So let's do this. I'll plug this one in there, and this one I'm gonna leave it here. So let's change our landscape material from the parent to, or the master material, to the instance material, okay? Please have to wait a little bit to compile. All right, there we go. So now this is really cool. That's something that we cannot do with the master material, all right? So I can turn on here the grass to revert back to, and change here to 5. Okay, that's nice. Let's change here the vertical separation. Instead of -5, probably I want more, because I want this wall here also to be getting some. Yeah, that's pretty okay. Let's see the other vertical separation, if I can do better changing it. No, that's pretty great actually. I like it. And now, for example, the roughness here, we can even change this number. Well, nothing is really changing. Oh, okay, now it's changing. But we don't need to change the roughness. Just leave it as it is, okay? So now we are changing in real time how our landscape is behaving. And then we can adjust those numbers that we just plugged in, whatever number. Now we can really do adjustments. Okay, so how to use master materials and instances. That's one way to use it, but think like this. Imagine that you have, I don't know, you're gonna make the assets for your environment, and you wanna make a function in your materials that, depending the distance that the player is from the material, you're gonna put some noise on the top of it to break a little bit the tiling. Maybe you wanna put a little bit of mud up to, I don't know, 1 meter tall on your environment, just like we would do with the snow, but you can apply this to anything, right? Not only environment, so it could be a smart material that applies dirt to your objects. And so you have two ways to do it. You can program each material with all these functions embedded in them, so you're gonna have to do it multiple times, or you can have one master material with all the nodes that you're going to use for all these materials, and the instances. Let's say you have the master material walls, and then for the instances you're going to have the rock wall instance, you're going to have the dirt wall instance, and so forth. So you will keep the function you made for the master, and then you just change the texture on these other ones, and you have a new material, but you don't have to reprogram it. You just change the texture. Does it make sense? It's very good for bigger productions. If it's small production, we don't need this granularity or this architecture to make things simpler. But if it's a bigger project, then, well, you're gonna need, the easier it gets, the better it is. Yes, look.
I'm having like a weird texture stretching issue on that material.
I can check later individually, but let's talk about scale. Okay, that's the next step. So go back to your master material, okay, not the instance, so we can see the function here. Oh, by the way, anything that we change on the master material is going to be carried over to the siblings. So that's something else that's really neat. Okay. I heard from an Epic environment artist / programmer. He told, I don't know how true it is because I never worked in a really big project, but he told that ideally you're going to have only one master material and everything else is going to be an instance of that material. So if you can think and like architect, make the architecture of these materials beforehand, it's pretty good. All right, so let's change the scale. There are many ways that we can change scale, but the way that we have it set up here, we're gonna do it like this. So you see here texture size. So you can right click on texture size and convert to parameter. Here, promote to parameter. Okay, right click, texture size. Oh, that's weird. That's not what I was looking for. So instead, let's do this. Let's press 1 to have a value in there and plug this value into the texture size for both the texture and the normal, because we want to scale them at the same time, right? We want them to have the same size so it matches. And here I'll on this value that I just added, I'll press right click and now I'll convert it to parameter. So we have here the rock scale. Okay, that's the name of this parameter. We can leave it as 1 for the default value and the slider, just to show you how it works. So let's go from, I don't know, 10, from 1 or 0 to 10. Okay, that's the slider parameter. 1 looks pretty tiny though. Let's see, maybe 100. Yeah, so let's go from 0 to 300. So I can show you the slider later. And let's do the same thing for the grass. So I'm just gonna copy the scale here and paste below here. Connect to the texture size. But here I'll have to rename it. Instead of rock scale, that's going to be my grass scale. Okay. If we save the changes, they're going to be applied right away across the instances. Okay, so this one, just press 1 on your keyboard and now right click and convert your parameter. And now you plug it into the texture size. Are we all in here? All good?
Result?
Yes.
When I click 1, nothing.
Oh,
comes up.
1 and click. Press, keep it pressed. Yes.
Got it.
Good. By the way, let's change something here to make our life simpler. So we have this grass roughness here that we added for the roughness, but it's a parameter. I don't need to control the roughness of my grass or whatever, because it's going to be set only once. So if I right click here, I can convert to constant, those two. And now you're gonna see on the material instance, we don't have this number anymore. So it's not gonna be, it's a quality of life improvement here, okay? All right, so now let's get back here. Let's open once again our material instance. It's already here in my case. So now if we look here, we have two new options that we did not have before. We have the grass scale that we can change here to change the scale of or the tiling of the grass. Let's get closer to see it better. Okay, so we can change it to any number we deem good. Maybe 300 is gonna work for me. Yeah, I think 300 it's fine. Not too tiled. And the same thing here for the rock. So we have individual control over these two material or these two textures. Let's see, 300. Yeah, 300 works. Maybe 500. It's quite tiled. Let's see, 1,000. 1,000 is not too bad actually. Yeah, that's pretty okay. That is pretty okay. Let's try by testing also. Yeah, I think that works beautifully. Okay, let's save before it crashes and we have to restart. That's important. Alright, so things are working fine. That's great. Well, you can see here how much work we have been saving using this technique here. So let's change here. Maybe the contrast is something that we can improve a little bit. I think it's just like it's just like a hard brush. Maybe, yeah, if we bring it down, we have a little bit of a soft brush going on in there from the transition from one material to another. Yeah, that works best for me, I think. Nice. Okay. Let me see. I'm just gonna make here a really tall mountain, okay? You don't have to do it necessarily. I just want to test if my... Yeah, I have the broken terrain in this one. So it might look a little bit weird. But this is fine. So let me turn off the other landscape here. Alright. So now we can see better. Okay, let's do the snow. Okay, are you ready for snow? Yeah, okay. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Okay, back to our auto material. So I haven't practiced this one before class. It's been a year since I tried it, so bear with me, okay? What we're going to do here, we are going to grab these guys, bring them over to the right to leave more space for us. By the way, we can just put it all into a comment, and that's my landscape vertical separation. Okay, landscape vertical separation, so we know what it's about. And now here we're gonna use the same node as we used before. This one here, material layer blend, you can just copy and paste beside it. Okay, the base material is going to be whatever we made so far. The top material is going to be our snow material, and the blend is gonna come in there. Okay, so let's start with the base material. This one's pretty simple. Let's just copy over everything we've done for the grass texture. Control V, alright, Control C, Control V. And let's plug this one on the top material. But here instead of grass, I don't think we have snow, but we definitely have something that looks like snow. Let's see, a whitish texture. This metal aluminum here looks alright. Let me see here. Preview node. Oh, okay. Let's try something else then.
I think it might just be because you have a D, and the other one has to be the other.
Maybe. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this one's pretty white with some dark spots. Yeah, that's okay. That's snowy enough to me. And for the normals, we can keep this normal here for the grass, or maybe, let's see, the aluminum.
And you can have any normal,
Does it
right?
look- yes, you can have any normal.
Is it just like the backing for it so that it adds the texture?
Hmm?
Is it just the backing texture for the thing, or what does the normal do?
The normal creates the perception of depth. So you can use any normal. For example, if I slap here brick normal, that I know that we have, you're gonna get the brick texture showing a little bit. Oh, maybe here. Let me let me do it from here. Previewing from here, and now it's gonna work. Yeah, you see?
Perfect.
So let's get back here to aluminum. Yeah, that looks okay. Looks snowy enough. Alright, so that's our snow. Basically, now let's do the alpha. So for alpha, we're gonna start with right-clicking and absolute world position is the world position, the first one that appears under coordinates. We can even give it, we cannot favorite it here, okay? It's called absolute world position. We can just plug here X, Y, and Z into the alpha. That's something that they changed from other versions. Let me just double check here if my absolute. Yeah, most likely is this one. They changed how it looks here, but I'm pretty sure that's the right node. Okay, word position, sorry, you do not put it in alpha. Word position, now here we're gonna drag and we're gonna do a divide. So we are dividing two numbers here, and here we're gonna create a parameter 1. So press 1 and click on the board. Connect this one there. Let's give this one the value of 100. Right click in it, convert to parameter, and let's call this one snow fade. Okay, this is what's going to make the transition from wherever material to snow. Now from here we're gonna do a break out float component. So break out float component, the number 3. Okay, we have 3 options here. Is the float 3 component. So we are dealing with 3 colors, basically RGB. There you go. All right. So now on the B, we're gonna do an add. For the lower value, you can right click and promote to parameter, the B value there, the B parameter. This one we're gonna call height, height snow, or snow height, snow altitude. Okay, so that's where the snow is gonna start showing up. We can leave it for now as 0 or maybe 100, whatever. And finally, now we're gonna do a clamp. Just to keep this value between 0 and 1. Yeah, that's correct. And now this number here, let me see, start previewing. Should see a separation somehow. Well, anyhow. So now this number here, we're gonna plug into the alpha. So now, if we save and check our map, it's probably all destroyed now. Yes, it's all snow. But if we open the instance, now we have the snow altitude and snow fade. So let's change the altitude. Maybe increasing is going to be better. No, so probably decreasing the number will do the trick. Yep. So I just want to keep here on these peaks, okay? And now I can also change the fade, so let's get a little bit closer to see the fading here. So now we can just fade, snow fade, okay. So we can change how it fades in and out. All right. And well, that's it actually for our snow material. You can see now, even if we go back to the landscape mode and start sculpting. Am I in the right landscape? Yes, now I am. Okay. The changes, they are applied and they will change in real time. Hydro, strength, not so much. Ooh, it looks horrible. All right, any questions? Okay, now I want to show you the final trick of today. But I'll show you because I trust that you're not going to cheat, okay? So let me put it this way. I trust you, you're not going to cheat, but I'll show you a great cheat here. So, we
So
finished the material. This
we
is
can't
great.
Use it. We can't use it in our project, or we quote unquote can't use it. In
You
our
can use it, you cannot use with someone else code, okay? So you learn it. That's the idea. So I'll show you. So we have this material expression here. It's really hard. So I can do a Control C here. Let's say that the project you are working here in class is not the same project you have at home, like it's my case. So I want to open here the notepad, okay, on the computer, the notepad. Now I can literally Control V those things in here, okay. Now I can save it and open into a new project. Let's imagine that this is a new project. I'll make a new material that's M sheet. So now I'm gonna do here a Control A, Control C, get back to my canvas here, Control V. Ba-ba!
Wait, what's Control A?
Select all.
Oh.
And now it's here. I just have to plug things again and wow. Let's see. It's working, yeah? It brought everything. In this case, it did not break because I already have the textures in the project with the same name. Maybe you have different textures in your project, so the textures here are going to be broken, missing the reference, and then you just plug the right reference again, the right texture. Okay? So this is a big cheat. Don't use it with, or use on your own code because I want you practicing it. But yeah, this is really awesome. Really awesome. Question, yes.
How did you copy the material parameter?
Select everything.
Just in the material?
Control C, yes, in the material. Make a box selection. Control C and then Control V.
Not actually copies. Like, I can email that to myself. So I can
Yes,
use it.
totally. Yes, you can email it to yourself and you're gonna keep all your progress. All right, so that's it for our lecture today. I don't want to go
Again, if you want.
further than here.